Hello, so this is the final Attack on Titan vlog that we're going to do. I'm going to do this video where we talk about the very end of the series, and then we'll do one more video, and that's the, standard, more polished, full thoughts. I've completed the series. Here's what I think of the thing as a whole, hopefully like looking back at the whole thing retrospective. So you have 2 more videos left for me, but this is the final vlog for Attack on Titan. So we are finishing up the story in this vlog, which is crazy. We have 2 specials left, which I haven't watched either of them yet, but I wanted to do an introduction. I wanted to say hi, cover a couple of things that were mentioned in the comment section of the last vlog. So I'm not reading comments anymore other than just like the most upvoted couple. And then I have a friend who's going through all the comments, screenshotting the really important things or the things that are commonly said or pushed back against or corrected on so that I am aware of what I need to be aware of. So a couple of things. 1, I messed up the end spot for the last arc. I don't know what happened. I'd like to blame my dyslexia, like maybe I just got numbers jumbled. I don't know, maybe it was just stupidity, honestly. Anyway, I stopped early for some reason. So real quick, let me just give you some quick thoughts on that last chapter that I forgot to cover, and then I'll mention a couple of comments as well. So the last chapter covered a couple of things. We have Historia who's pushing back against him, saying, not everyone outside of our island is an enemy, just like your mother. Most of them would be suddenly killed without ever understanding why. And he wants to defend her. He doesn't want her to be forced to birth a child that they can sacrifice for this island and continuing. He just wants to cut the cycle out. Like, he's just ready to be done. Then we see the Titans go underwater, come up out of the water, and start the rumbling. The rumbling has officially begun. It's looking terrible. It's looking like they're not going to actually have time to save Marley at all, as well as the refugee camp that we saw and drank with, and like all of that area. If I'm getting the if I'm getting it on my map right, all of that area is about to be wiped out. And it doesn't look like they're going to be in time to be able to save them because the rumbling is going to be done in, I think it said 4 days. So they come out of the water, and these people that are set up to fight against them are all prepared, but then very quickly see that their defenses that they've created don't actually do any sort of real damage. And so they end up just hopelessly giving up and running. And we're, I guess, probably about to see a really terrible leveling. We also see Eren in some weird, like, cage-like, Doflamingo-esque thing. So I don't actually understand what this is. When I do stream the reaction for the first special, I'm gonna check in with my patrons about this, which we're gonna do really soon. So I'm gonna check with them about what in the world is going on with Eren. But he looks weird. Like, it's so creepy looking. It's so ominous and overwhelming, and this like skeletal, bony creature thing, which it's not like we haven't seen Titans that look incredibly strange before, but I don't know. I don't know if it's so gross from that angle. Ew, he looks like a fish bones. I don't know if it's because of like the creature that we saw that got Ymir in the first place and turned her into a Titan in the first place, but which, by the way, actually that's a great transition. So the other big thing that my mod told me, I mean, there were a couple of sentiments and corrections that she offered me. The other big thing that she brought up that a lot of people were bringing up is my interpretation that the creature in the water was a deity of sorts. Apparently that got just a ton of pushback, like a ton of people like really pushing back about this, which really surprised me because it was nondescript. Like, it was not explained in the manga exactly what it was. And so I thought like speculation was just what was expected at this point. And since Ymir was given godlike powers, the idea that it came from a godlike thing just made sense to me, but apparently it's like a very, very strange, uncommon thought that a lot of people took issue with, which made me laugh because it seemed like such a logical conclusion to me, but apparently it's super duper not. Apparently the common opinion among the fans is hallucinogenia, which I did not look up the pronunciation for. I'm sure you can't even tell, but I did look up what it was, and it was this like prehistoric creature, one of the oldest living beings on the earth. I think it's a cool theory, honestly, like the idea that this thing that is still in the depths somewhere where no one goes, that, you know, has to be melded with the lore of the world. Like, it has to have some sort of radioactive ability to turn Ymir into Spider-Man. I'm just kidding. Has to have some sort of ability to turn her into something else. So it's like rooted in history, but with AOT lore, I think is a really fun explanation for exactly what happened. I'm just curious if the series explains it anymore, or if it just kind of leaves it where it was. Either way, I'm very nervous about what's to come because I imagine it's going to be, you know, terrible, but excited and nervous to see how the series ends. Anyway, welcome to the vlog. Hello. So I have read volume 33 of Attack on Titan and watched the special that went alongside of it. At the beginning of that watch party, at the beginning of that stream where I was watching it with my patrons, I mentioned I just wanted to understand some of the pushback for the creature that gave Ymir the powers initially. And so I was trying to understand, like, what did I miss? And one thing that one of my patrons pointed out was that a godlike, a deity-esque thing was mentioned as an option, as like a potential. So I'm still holding out on the idea that there must be more to come. There must be something else in the series that's it's gonna show back up again somehow and explain itself more, which I'm excited about because I do want clarity on this. Just having this sort of nebulous, this is what I think it is, who knows. I would prefer if we got a little bit more grounding. It doesn't have to be totally explained to the nth degree, but just like something a little bit more. So I'm excited that there's probably going to be more to come, though there wasn't yet in this volume. So this volume / these episodes, incredible. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this special started out with Eren. We see him kind of trying to he has seen into the future. He's seen the way things are set to be, and he's seen that he's going to save this kid from this fight in the alleyway. And but he considers himself a hypocrite to do so because he's literally walking down the street, looking at these people, looking at their situations, looking at their humanity, and saying, I've made the decision. I'm going to kill you all. Like, he is aware of the humanity and of the personal cost to each individual that's going to be destroyed. He hasn't, like, considered them as this nebulous, the bad guys. He's living among them, seeing them as humans, and still making the choice, I'll wipe you all out. And because of that, he sees his kid in the alleyway and he's like, I'm a hypocrite if I'm trying to save the individual knowing that I'm going to kill that individual soon. But still does it saying, well, I guess, you know, there's no point in fighting fate. There it is. He says, I guess the future doesn't change. Okay, so this scene, I want to acknowledge that the manga, obviously the manga is the original. This is how it was originally depicted, and it's fantastic in the manga. But in the anime, oh my goodness. It was so effective. Like, it was tragic. I had to watch this scene twice to fully take it in, because seeing the rumbling coming through and crushing these people, and great storytelling choice by Isayama to focus in on these two kids and to have, like, their, you know, this kid who is stealing money to try to provide for his family, and then the money falls and he is torn between running or grabbing the money. Like, focusing in on them, even though I hardly know them, was such a good storytelling choice, because the first time I'm watching through this, I'm so fixated on these kids and on watching them be crushed and watching them slowly, you know, one after the other have their lives taken by this rumbling, that I couldn't even listen fully to Eren's dialogue. It was just kind of like I was reading it all, but I couldn't take it in because I was so moved and hurt by the loss of these lives. So then I had to go back and watch it again to get Eren's dialogue, and that too was, oh my goodness, what a look into the state of Eren's mind. I'll actually read it. Yeah, so he's holding on to this kid that he saved, telling him, I'm sorry, as the rumbling has started, as we can see them coming to crush everything and people are running. And Eren says, you see, it's to save the island, to save Eldia, but it's more than that. The reality of life beyond the walls was nothing like the world I'd dreamt about. It was nothing like the world I'd seen. When I learned that humanity had survived beyond the walls, I was so disappointed. I made a wish. I wished for it all to be wiped away. I'm sorry. They were always there, wherever I looked. From the day I was born, those miserable walls. Anyone who saw those things would be the freest person in the world. And then it shows him, this is it. Freedom. It shows him imagining himself beyond those miserable walls. And then you see that, and then you turn the page to the reality, his actual disappointment when he goes beyond those miserable walls. So in the anime, I think they changed up his dialogue actually, because I'm pretty sure he said in the anime, I wanted it. He said, oh my goodness, I have so much to say about this scene. Okay, so essentially he believed, Armin showed him the book and he saw the potential of what's outside of the walls, and he believed that's freedom. I'm in a cage. I was born into a war zone. I'm being raised and I'm going to become a child soldier. I want to fight for our freedom. I want to fight to end this. But beyond the walls, there must be freedom. Beyond the walls, there must be these things that I've never seen before that would actually be so much better than what I have here. And that was what he believed in. And then he left. He went outside the walls and he was disappointed. He found more warfare, more strife, more humanity, and he was disappointed. And he went into Marley and he walked the streets and he interacted with good people, not just the evil, not just the bad, not just the selfish, but good people living lives of kindness and raising families and having humanity. And he still made the decision to kill them all. He made the decision he wanted to wipe it all out because it wasn't what he wanted. He wanted a better life, and what he found was more of the same. And so he has made a concerted choice, having all of the information before him, knowing what the world is, to wipe it all off, to wipe it all out, because the world is more of the same, and it's an utter disappointment. And so this is the decision that he's made. What an extraordinary look into the mind of Eren, right? Like showing, and he's already explained, we already had that conversation with Eren and Reiner about, yes, my experiences and the things that I've been through and the way that people have treated me has all affected who I've become. But I still had choice. I'm still responsible for the decisions that I made, right? So it's like, it's this balance of culpability and or this balance of the circumstances that I was born into and raised up with do affect me, but also responsibility for what you do with it. And so we've already explored that dynamic, and now Eren is explaining to us with full understanding of the circumstances around me, I've made this choice. What a look into his mind. What a way to truly understand the person that we're about to attempt to take out to save the world. And then just also adding to this, the fact that he's admitting all this to a child that he knows he's going to kill, and then this dialogue is all given interspersed. In the manga, it's like back and forth. We have the dialogue and then we cut to that very same kid actually going through the rumbling. So Eren is admitting all this, and in the anime it was, obviously a lot of the dialogue was on top of watching it all happen. So Eren is admitting this all to the kid, and then we follow that kid as he has to experience the consequences of Eren's choices, as he has to experience the ramifications, the reality of what Eren has chosen to do. This is something that the series does so well, as it doesn't ever have this sort of ominous ideal of people. It's like, it will force us to zero in on the people, and we're not released with just Eren's ideal, and then we process it void of the human cost. No, we're gonna follow that very human as we experience these actions in real time. It's just, oh, it's so brilliantly written. It's such a tragic, horrible scene. We've got to take this kid out. Specifically Eren, not the child that was just murdered. We also have the scene with Armin and Annie, where Armin is admitting to Annie his feelings for her, and it's like she doesn't know how to process it, she doesn't know how to respond to it, and she once again calls him a good person, and he reminds her that he doesn't like that title. And he says, "I've killed a lot of people, not just soldiers, regular people, children. And now I've made the choice to betray everyone living on the island where I was born and raised. I've killed comrades. I've been a terrible monster myself for a long time." Somewhere in my head, there was the promise I made to Eren that we'd travel the unknown world outside. I thought it would come true. And Annie says, "The unknown world wasn't all it was cracked up to be, was it?" And he says, "No, it wasn't the world we dreamed of." So I love having Armin also wrestle with the reality that this world that he dreamed of when he read it in the books, this is not what I thought. This was not the place of peace and freedom that I expected. And also wrestling with the reality of what he's had to do, the choices he's made in the midst of this warfare that he's had to fight, and the positions a lot of times that Eren has put him in. But Armin lands in a different place. Even though they've grown up together, they've had very similar life experiences in that, you know, they were born into a war zone, they were raised in the midst of war, they both became child soldiers and fought in the war, they both left the walls and had this ideal of what the world would be, and they were both disappointed by the world. Eren's response is, "So we destroy it all." And Armin's response is, I want to believe that there's still a place we know nothing about somewhere beyond the walls." Which has me wondering if maybe the ending of this series is, because, you know, I don't know how it's gonna end. Like, I'm just very much like, what do we do? Like, how are we gonna resolve this in any sort of satisfying way? It makes me wonder if maybe there is a people group that's kind of been in hiding, that's been off to the side, that hasn't been around, that's gonna come in and somehow offer aid, offer help, maybe have some sort of peaceful land. I don't know. I don't know if there is a place beyond the walls, or if the emphasis is more likely. The emphasis is more on the fact that Armin has had the same set of circumstances. Not exactly the same. His mother wasn't eaten by a Titan, but very similar. And yet he's come to a different conclusion of what the way forward is. And that's to continue to hope for and work for a better life, a better world, trying to shape it into something that it should be instead of what it is now. And Eren's is kill everyone. Except for my people. I like my people. I also really like the scene where Annie decides that she just wants to leave, that she's tired of fighting, she's tired of all of this, and even though everybody was really hoping to have Annie there, they really felt like, man, we kind of need her for this final battle against Eren. They all put that aside and say, okay, bye. Like, enjoy, go. They don't guilt trip her. They don't try to convince her out of it, even though they feel like they need her. They care more about honoring the decisions that she's made and letting her rest, letting her have a little bit of peace. I don't know why that scene just really got me choked up when I watched it, because I was just like, oh man, they're such good friends. Then we have freaking Flock come in and continue shooting, continue fighting, destroying the gas tanks, making it so that the rumbling is right on us and we can't get straight to what we've been fighting for. This is what we've been doing for, like, as all of this destruction is happening. The reason we haven't been able to move forward is because we needed to repair this plane, and Flock ruins it, which leads us to one of the best scenes in the special other than the opening scene, and that is Hanji's sacrifice. Ooh, so they're all, okay, they all understand, all right, we need to buy more time to repair the gas tank. So you know, one of us is going to go and start fighting the Titans, holding them back a little bit. And they're discussing who it's going to be. And Hanji says, it can't be a Titan. We need y'all. So it's going to be me. Knowing perfectly well exactly what that's going to lead to. Obviously, I love the scene with Hanji talking to Levi and telling him, I want to look as cool as I possibly can right now, so just let me walk away. And then he just hits her chest and says, dedicate your heart. And the joy on her face when she goes, ha, that's the first time I've ever heard you say that. And then she flies away. Oh, I love it so much. I love that that's the first time that he said it, and he said it to Hanji. I love that she's like, oh, I want to look cool. But then because Levi, you know, gave her that honor, gave her that kind of send off, then it's like just being Hanji some more. Oh, and then the scene where... this scene where Hanji is holding the Titans back, and it was so beautifully animated, so quick in the manga, but in the anime it seemed to be much longer, and it was so stunning the way it was done, the score behind it, the emotions, and then watching Hanji's cape catch fire and Hanji being consumed by fire and falling down, only for us then to see, which gave us just the right amount of time to get the plane in the air. And what do we see? The same thing that we saw when Erwin died. The same thing that, well, you know, a lot of animes do. JoJo's certainly does it a lot, where we get to see a look into the afterlife, a look into the people that have gone before that are kind of just waiting. I love this conversation. Do you know how much I went through after you appointed me commander? The things that idiot Eren got up to? Yeah, must have been difficult. You'll have to tell us about it. The scene was stunning, emotional, beautiful, but then I loved ending it there where they're all just standing around, they help her up off the ground, and they're like, you're gonna have to tell us about what happened. Catch us up. What's been going on out there? Oh, it was beautiful. Oh, it was beautiful. It was such a good scene. Okay, so there's a lot of strategizing. I'm gonna hurry up and get through this section because I need to leave. Story of my life. So they're going through strategizing about Eren, about trying to understand or evaluate what they need to be doing. They need to take down Zeke possibly, because then the connection of the rumbling would end, and you know, what Eren might be capable of at this point. Levi says that he's going to help and be the one to take down Zeke. They're all resolving themselves to, you know, whatever it takes. We're going to stop this. I loved this conversation because obviously we had that whole conversation around the campfire where they're admitting what they've done. They're airing out all their grievances, and they can't really forgive each other totally, especially Reiner. Jean especially can't really totally forgive Reiner, but they've agreed to work together. And then here, as they're all about to go into what very well could be their final fight, but I really hope not, they are finally fully resolving these issues. Connie says, I shot and killed Samuel and Daz. I sliced up people I knew until their regular faces were unrecognizable. All while they called me a traitor. While they told me they were saving the world. Hey, Reiner. You, Bertolt, and Annie it must have been awful for you. Reiner says, my sins are beyond redemption. Even if we manage to save what's left of humanity, I doubt I'll ever forgive myself. But, well, let's at least save the rest of humanity. And Jean says, that's right. We're the same, Reiner. I never had any right to blame you for anything. I became a murderer in order to save others. And then, of course, Reiner remembers that Eren, too, said that they were the same. Oh, man. I just really love that scene. Whew. Okay, that leads us into realizing that Eren can control the actions of all the Eldians. He has that in his power, but he's chosen to give them freedom, which leads them into the place of convergence, or the paths, or whatever this place is called. It leads them here. Ah! And they all are calling out to Eren, crying out to him, please just talk to us, have this last conversation, bringing us right back to, oh, the stuff from the last time. Just be like, let us talk this out, let us discuss it. Even willing to, you know, say, well, we've done a bunch of bad stuff too, this is partially on us, please just talk to us. And he says, I will not stop the rumbling. I won't leave the future of parody to fate. I will keep moving forward. To hold freedom in my own hands, I must take freedom from the rest of the world. But I will not take anything from you. You are all free. You are even free to demand the freedom of the rest of the world, and I have the freedom to continue moving forward. So long as we have our own unbreakable convictions, we will collide. Therefore, only one thing remains for us to do. He essentially tells them there's really no conversation worth having. There's no discussion to be had. If you wish to stop me from doing this, you will have to stop me from breathing. You are free to try. So the Freedom Titan, the way he is handling freedom is by giving them their freedom, even though he has the ability to completely dismantle that. He has the ability to control them, to force them not to fight him. He's giving them that free will still. They can still fight. But we have different ideals of what freedom is going to look like in this world. So you fight for yours, I'll fight for mine. And whoever stops the other is going to be the decider of what freedom actually is in this world. Oh my goodness. Ah! Oh, it's so intense. I love this decision for the series, though. I absolutely love this decision that Eren, who already is so overpowered, that Eren has the power to do this, but that he believes in freedom so much that he would give them the option to fight for the kind of world that they want to see. And yet he's like, I've made my decision. I'm not moving. I'm not budging. So come on. Fight me. And I love this for the position that it puts all of these friends in, right? Because all of these friends have decided, like, they have believed in Eren for so long, and they have believed that he was going to be the solution for this world. And they finally have to reckon with the fact that no, he's not. We were wrong about who Eren was, what he believed in, what he would try to accomplish. And all this time, even when his actions were showing us that he was not who we thought he was going to be, he was not doing what we thought what we believe that the world needs, they still just believed, but there's another side of this coin. But if we just understand him better, then surely we'll see that his intentions were good, that he really is fighting for us, that this is the Eren that we believe in. And as we're getting these very clear looks into Eren's motivations and his beliefs and what he's set his path to be, they have to reconcile with the reality that the person that they have loved and they have trusted and that they have believed in to fight for them is not that. They are going to be forced to actually confront him, to actually fight him, and they are going to have to end him. I really think that that's, as much as I say I don't know how the series is going to end, I really think that that's the way it has to end. It has to be, and I think it's going to be Mikasa, because she's the one that hesitates the most. She's the one that when everybody else is saying, we have to take Eren down, it's our only option, she's the one that's saying, I have to have a conversation with him and I have to bring him back home, right? So I think it has to be her that finally confronts this person that has been, in her mind, the symbol of life and of freedom and of family and of hope. She has to confront the fact that he's not that anymore and that he is not that for the world. And she has to do something about it. Like, I really think she does. So I love this clear look into who Eren is and what his mind is and why he's doing this. Like, we know Eren. And the people, his friends, know that the person that they relied on and trusted, they have to take down. Oh, it's so good. Oh my goodness. I love the position that the series has put. The way the series has positioned all these things, Okay, anyway. Falco realizes that he gets some of Zeke's memories, and he realizes that there have been beast titans that could fly. And even though he has the Jaw Titan, he drank Zeke's spinal fluid, so he has some beast ability. He thinks he can fly. So he and Gabi and Annie are all about to go fight, which I expected when Annie said, I'm leaving. I expected that she was going to come back and she was going to fight alongside of all of them. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Look at this page. The rumbling has finally caught up to us. Eren is disgusting. Okay, so the rest of this is pain and horror and terror. It's zooming in on the individuals. It's showing the people, you know, praying and running and trying to save their children and being crushed. It's showing the absolute horrible, devastating tragedy that Eren is inflicting on the world. It's, oh my goodness, people being pushed off of the cliff, them trying to protect this baby, passing it from person to person. Oh my goodness. We see people, Eldians and Marleyans, realizing, you know, the way we've conducted ourselves wasn't a good plan. We have just spread hate. We have just caused division, and this was not it. Faced with your death, you do a little bit of self-reflection. We exploited hatred. We kept feeding our resentment. We even thought our hate would save us. And then he goes on to say, if we survive this, I will not make the same mistakes. I swear it. And he implores them all to make the same commitment. If we survive this, let us not continue this cycle. Let us not do this all again. Let us move forward in unity as one people. And then the battle begins. The Titans drop out of the air, the bombs are dropped, Zeke is pulled out and starts fighting. And Armin says, Eren, I'm asking you one more question you're not going to like. How exactly are you free? And you will answer me once we drag you out of there. Oh my goodness! So the final section of this story is going to be this battle and the conclusion. I still don't know what it'll be. I still don't know. I don't have any strong predictions other than just that I think Mikasa has to be the one to take Eren down. But I don't know how this is going to end. How are they going to accomplish it? I don't know. How is it going to resolve? I don't know. Is the series... Yay, we defeated racism. I can't expect that would be the answer, but also there has to be some sort of hope, right? I don't know. I'm very overwhelmed. I'm very excited for the conclusion, so I'm going to be watching that, and I can't wait, and reading it, obviously. Okay, so anyway, hi, bye. Hello. I have finished Attack on Titan. I watched the second special. I read the final volume. We're done. Oh my goodness, this series, I don't know how to talk about it all in one go. I just finished reading the volume like 20 minutes ago, so I really haven't had a lot of time to process a lot. I watched the special yesterday, but I just finished the volume just now. So I haven't had a lot of time to process everything. So I'll have more polished thoughts when I do the final video, where I talk about the series as a whole. Anyway, this last fight was incredible with all the previous Titans, intelligent Titans, their forms coming back and being used by Eren. Reiner fighting so hard and for so long, taking so much damage to give them openings and to get them to the point that they needed to be to finally actually take Eren down. Peak working so hard. Peak worked so hard, constantly getting like skewered or hurt, and then she would just pop right out and keep going as a new Titan. Her endurance was incredible. Jean and Levi and Connie all fighting so hard and helping each other, working together so incredibly well. Oh my goodness, it was so much. Oh right, even Bertolt. Bertolt's form was used as well, and having to see Reiner look at him and go, Bertolt, like his friend, his best friend, the one that he so recently lost. Oh my goodness, there was just so much happening here. Falco, Gabi, and Annie also popped back in on the fight. Falco was able to turn into a Titan with wings, and he carried them back into the fight, and then Annie got to fight alongside of them as well. I loved Levi's speech where he was reflecting on everything they've been through and on completing their mission, and he says, Erwin, I didn't choose you, and I have no regrets about that, because I entrusted the future to that kid who had the same look in his eyes as all of you. He after all of this, after everything they've been through, is reflecting on the fact that he made the right choice. And we have watched Armin question over and over again, or rather verify over and over again, he made the wrong choice. It should have been Erwin. He would know what to do here. He wouldn't be making these mistakes. And yet Levi, who wanted to choose his friend, is reflecting that, no, I chose the person that had the same look in his eyes. And shortly after that, very shortly after that, we cut to the scene where Armin has been, captured, and he can't breathe and can't figure out what's going on. And now he's having this out-of-body experience where he's looking at himself, screaming at his body of what a disappointment he is. Don't you get it? They're going to die. Wake up, you piece of trash. You pitiful coward. You're useless. I hate you. I always have. You've never done anything but betray me. The life I was given, the expectations, the responsibilities, everything, all of it, you keep letting everyone down. How dare you? How dare you die like this? Move. I said move. This scene was incredible. The voice acting, the emotions on Armin's face, in his eyes of just desperation and this self-hatred of just not being enough, never feeling like he is enough. And getting that scene directly after Levi saying, I made the right choice, and Armin saying, you have never been the right choice. Oh, right. Also, the centipede thing. Okay, so let's talk about it for the third time in a single video. I understand it more now. Oh my goodness, how cool! Long ago, there was a time when nothing but mere matter existed in this world, and the teeming ooze, forms of a certain something appeared, disappeared, and appeared again, and one of them eventually survived. We now know it as life. And this little life, this is the beginning of Attack on Titan. The reason that life ultimately survived was because it was in its nature to multiply. So because of this, because Zeke has this bit of lore of the world, this helps me to understand why he landed with the plan to sterilize everyone. Makes me understand how he got here, knowing that the reason life continued was because of this thing's inherent need to multiply. And so his natural conclusion is to stop multiplying, and then life too stops, which enters Armin's conversation of what is life really? Does it really end when you lose the ability to multiply? Or is it actually these little moments that really make life significant and matter? Bringing it down to the individual life, like bringing it down to what makes his life significant and what would make Zeke's life significant. Zeke thinks that the purpose of life is to multiply, which is why that was what his plan hinged on, because life didn't really have a purpose anymore in his mind because of the way the world was. And to Armin, the purpose of life, or rather the meaning in life, were the leaf falling on the trees as he raced his friends, or reading a book on a rainy day, feeding a squirrel and it actually taking the food from his hands. And then that leaf, that scene where the leaf transformed into a baseball and they couldn't see what the other was seeing, and Armin was holding up the symbol of what made the symbol of the little moments to him, and what Zeke was seeing was the symbol of the little moments that really were the valuable moments in his life, and that kind of made him understand why he needed to help them. Realizing that, yeah, I guess I would do life again if I could continue to have those little moments. So they were able, so the previous Titan holders were able to appear in front of them in the paths, and they asked them for their help. So Zeke appeared, he revealed himself, called out to Levi, "You missed me, didn't you, Levi? I can't say I missed you," and allowed Levi to finally, and without hesitation, Take him out. I'm glad it was Levi. I was worried that it wouldn't be him because this was his last mission. This was his last goal. I thought there was going to be maybe potentially some sort of tragedy in this one because I felt like there was some wiggle room with who killed the final one. But I'm glad that we went this direction, that Levi got to finally finish that last mission that's been haunting him. That's been his main, like, I need to do this, and I keep failing. I keep not being able to do it. And it did succeed. The rumbling stopped. Hanji's theory was correct. The rumbling ended. And there is, throughout the whole rest of this volume, there is a sequence of the friends of Eren realizing we have to do this. You know, obviously Eren has to be stopped, but also still having these nicknames for him, these terms of endearment, because while he must be stopped, there's still these complicated feelings because everything has happened really, really fast. So they still have these, like, you're not who I thought you were, but also I can't just rip these feelings from my chest so quickly. Anyway, they continue to fight. The centipede comes out of Eren and they try to push it back and not let it kind of reattach Eren's head. Armin blows everything up in his colossal titan form and Eren gets back up. He gets back up. It's like, it's so normal in a series like this for everybody to band together and to fight near to the death. People are taking such extreme damage and it looks like it's hopeless, but finally, by the skin of their teeth, they make it, they succeed, and it's over. And then the villain stands back up and, oh no, we're not done fighting, right? Like, I've read this a million times and yet it was just so good when he stood back up in this form. I'm like, stop. You have to stop. I was so invested. And then to make matters 5,000 times worse, the smoke, the gas starts coming out. And they realize that it is the same thing that they did in Connie's hometown. And very quickly, Levi jumps into action. Very quickly, Levi knows exactly what needs to be done. Get on Falco. Get out of here. The Ackermans, we're safe. The Intelligent Titans, they're safe. Everyone else has to be left behind. Oh, I'll tell you two things that really hurt the most. Peck, who has done so much work in this battle, who has been so resilient and who has stayed so solid and kept fighting no matter what, hasn't shown any weakness, says, this is too much. She can't be doing this. Like, it's too much. And then they cut away to them flying away and her actually being forced to hold. They actually have to hold her down as she's screaming and reaching out to them. Like, it's too much. After everything they've been through, this is too much. The fact, I'll give you 3 actually. I said 2, it's 3. The fact that they got a minute to see their family. Their family thought that they were dead. They thought that their family were all dead because of the rumbling. And they see their family. Annie sees her dad. Reiner's mom is there. Gabi's family is there. They get to see their family. They get to hold them, cry with them, love them. And then they either have to leave their family behind if they're one of those that were safe from the gas, or they had to stay there and be turned Titan alongside of them. Third thing that just was so rude was that Connie and Jean just standing there resolute, accepting, so this is the way we go out, huh? So this is it. And just kind of like, you know, they've just seen so much that it's just, so this is it. So this is the end. We knew the end was probably going to be today. I guess this is going to be how it goes. It's just, it was so unfair. I was so unwell when I was watching this episode. I was so angry because I'm like, it was too much. After watching the rumbling, after watching these people be killed, after having to like zoom in and watch it happen, not just know about this horrible thing that happened off yonder. I had to zoom in and I had to watch the individuals be pushed off a cliff and try to pass the baby forward and save that baby just for a minute longer, even though their fate, it was all going to be the same. And I had to watch people's heads be crushed. I had to watch people crying and running away in fear. Like I watched all of this. And then when the rumbling was supposed to have stopped, I have to watch this. It was little, I just couldn't deal anymore. Oh, it makes me so mad even still, even though I know they're fine. I know it's undone. I know it's like they're alive. I'm still mad about it. I'm still so mad about it. Okay. So, okay. I'm gonna be honest with you, oh yeah, and then giant Titan battle. Armin and Eren face off against each other. Battle of the ages, it's finally time. While the whole time Reiner is trying to keep the centipede thing away from him. And they just keep fighting. I mean, they all keep fighting. They're all Armin versus Eren, everyone else versus this fate, I guess you could call it. And then I'm gonna be honest with you, I do not fully understand the timey-wimey elements of this series just yet. I'm gonna do some reflection, I'm gonna do some thinking, probably gonna reread a couple of things, and hopefully I'll have it together eventually. I'm not 100% sure about the timing of everything that has gone on here. Here's what I do know though. At some point, Eren pulled Mikasa and Armin in for one last conversation, person to person. For Mikasa, he let her see a life if they had run off together instead of all of this. And essentially, you know, it was the same thing that we already knew, which is either we we don't fight back on Marley and Marley wipes us out, or we try to wipe Marley out and this horrible thing happens. So either way it's horrible. Either way the world loses. And he tells her, he tries to give her permission to move on, even though we will later learn that that is not truly what he wants. It's what he's trying to give her permission to move on, to be free of feeling like she has to protect him at all times, do everything for him, that she's so bound to him. It's like a cage in and of itself. It's like chains in and of itself. And he's trying to give her permission. He knows that he's going to die soon, and he's trying to give her permission to be free. And she essentially finds a compromise. She wraps the scarf tighter and says, no, I'm not going to get rid of the scarf. But she does allow herself to move on eventually. She finds exactly where Eren is, and she successfully ends this. And I'm proud of her. I knew it had to end this way. I knew this was what needed to happen. It needed to be her. She needed to make the decision to end this thing and to accept that this was the only way to stop the whole world being destroyed. And so she did. And I'm glad. And then ick happened. It's so gross. I do not dislike this scene. In fact, I love this scene and I'm so glad it's here. Like I never in my wildest dreams would have thought that Mikasa would end up killing Eren and then kissing his severed head. Never in my wildest dreams would I have predicted this plot point. And I never would have said, hey, you know what the series needs? And yet, I love this because of how obsessed with Eren Mikasa was, because she was so bound to him, because she was so, because of the way that she was. Like 50% of Mikasa dialogue was saying Eren's name. It was every move she made was about him. So the fact that she was able to break free from that enough to say, this is what needs to happen, and to do it, but still to give him that one last kiss is so in character for her. Like, it makes complete sense that she would have to say goodbye. And when I was watching it, my patrons reminded me too that in her mind, she thinks she's kissing Eren. Like, that's what, maybe not think she's kissing him, but like that's what is happening in her head right now. I don't know if she's suddenly getting that flash of memory or if the timing is different and she's just like recalling it. I don't know. But regardless, the two things are clearly tied together in some way. I don't know how closely. Regardless, it's so gross, but I love it. I love it because it makes perfect sense for Mikasa to do this. Doesn't change the fact that it's gross. It cracks me up, honestly. Okay, so Armin also got his conversation with Eren, and this one I did not like. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Eren explains to Armin. Wow, this one was a lot, actually, to take in. Armin realizes that the reason Eren was beating them up and saying all these things and everything was to push them away, to protect them, to make them the heroes who saved humanity from extinction by hunting him down. So his goal here is to turn his friends into heroes, to make them respected and not viewed as devils, and to wipe out 80% of humanity so that they would lose the capacity to continue to wage war against Eldians. But he also admits that even if he didn't think that, if I didn't know that you'd stop me in the end, I think I would still have flattened the world, level almost every forest, and leave the land covered in insects in a few days. I wanted to leave every surface a blank plan. And he asked why, and his answer is, I don't know why, but I wanted to do it. I had to. So so what I'm getting from this is that he, no matter what, was going to destroy humanity. Like, it was done. It was done in his eyes. I was going to do it. Whether you were going to stop me and it was going to only be 80% that I murder, or you don't, and everybody dies except for you. Either way, I'm gonna do this thing. So if I'm gonna do it, and you are going to stop me, and I know this, then I'll make you into heroes too. He also explains to us that the reason Ymir continued to serve King Fritz for all these years is because Ymir loved King Fritz. So essentially this entire scene I didn't love. I didn't love the answer for why Ymir was bound to Fritz. I had assumed, and I'm not the type of reader / watcher that has my headcanon and then I'm mad at the series when my headcanon doesn't win. I totally love when authors subvert expectations. I'm happy to move with the series as it moves in different directions. I hold my theories pretty loosely usually. So just keep in mind that me saying this is what I thought was going to happen is not me saying I'm mad my headcanon failed. But I just assumed that the answer was going to be that Fritz had called her a slave, had called her useless, had called her a monster. He had degraded her verbally and physically so much that even when she had these abilities to usurp him, she still believed about herself what had been ingrained in her for her entire life. And that's why she stayed enslaved to him, stayed bound to him. And there is some of that in there. I'm confident that that's true. And in fact, the two are likely tied together. Maybe her Stockholm syndrome comes from that denigration. The way that she was treated made her believe that Fritz was the only thing for her. So the two are very likely tied together. Yet the explanation we're given is she loved him and she stayed loyal to him. And then that was all tied in with Mikasa. And thematically, I don't hate it. Ymir has been in Mikasa's head watching her all this time because she finally found someone who had this same beholdenness to someone. She was essentially captive to someone as well, Mikasa being captive to Eren, in the sense that she would do anything for him. She's completely loyal to him. She would follow any command he gave her, seemingly. She was just so obsessed, beholden to, so in love with Eren that Ymir found someone in Mikasa that was like her, yet Mikasa was able to break free from that when she needed to because the person that she loved, was a monster, much like the person that Ymir loved. Mikasa could do it, and because Ymir watched Mikasa do it, she then too could let go and move on finally, which is the true end. So thematically, I don't hate it. I just don't really love it. I feel that it just doesn't feel that satisfying to me. I need to process this just a little bit more. I have some thoughts in my head of how I could articulate exactly why it's not completely satisfying to me, but I want to process it a little bit more to make sure that I say it wisely, because I know being critical in the end here is probably gonna, people are gonna have all kinds of feelings about my commentary on the end of the series, which is fine. I mean, all I can do is tell you the truth about how I felt. But I'm gonna try to come up with how to articulate it well, and attempt to do that in my final thoughts video. But that's a minor thing. That's not even that big of a deal to me. It's just kind of like, that conclusion was a little bit disappointing to me. But the thing that I liked significantly less was Armin's reaction to Eren. Now again, I'm cool with these characters having mixed feelings about Eren. I'm fine with these characters because everything has happened so fast. It's not like they've had, years. Well, they kind of have had years with Eren, because there was the 4-year time skip. It's not like they've had months or even weeks or even days of watching Eren destroy the earth. Like, this progression of the rumbling happened real fast. So they've made their conclusion of what they need to do, but them also having I don't like that I'm killing one of the most important people in my life, someone that I consider my family, them having complicated feelings about it, I'm fine with. I wish that there were some people among his inner circle that were like, I'm fine with this decision. That guy's a genocidal maniac. So I'm cool with doing this. Cut ties. I don't feel anything for this guy anymore. I would love to see at least 1 or 2 people be like, no, I'm real happy with the decisions we made today, instead of everybody having these really complicated feelings. But regardless, the complicated feelings make sense to me. And alongside of that, one more positive before I go into the big negative is I loved Eren just breaking down, and in Armin's words, being pathetic. Breaking down and being like, I don't want Mikasa to move on. I told her to, but that's not what I want. I want her to pine after me forever. I want her to not move on for 10 years. He's just showing more of what we saw in the alleyway with the kid, where he is he has these complicated feelings, where he's like, I feel bad about the fact that I'm killing all these people, but also this is what I want. And it's the same with Eren, where he's like, I know that I need to give Mikasa permission to move on, but it's not what I want. He kind of almost has this duality of his carnal desires, but also the thing the path that he's going down. Anyway, Eren says that he is going to erase Armin's memories, so he's not going to remember any of this until after everything is done and over with, and then he can have these memories back. and this line is the craziest line I think I've ever read. Armin saying, thank you, and saying, Eren, thank you. You became a mass murderer for our sake. I swear I won't let this terrible mistake you're making be in vain. That is the craziest line I think I've ever read. I would not be laughing about this. I would be very angry over this line if I didn't know that Isayama specifically worked with the anime directors to correct this line, because he felt like he didn't depict what he tried to depict here. And so the anime was supposed to be the better version, what he really meant with this scene. And so because I know this, I can just look at this and be like, oh, what? This is the most bonkers thing. Thanking Eren for becoming a mass murderer for their sake. It's just it blows my mind, honestly. And then they hug. They're besties. Thanks for committing genocide for me, bro. Anytime, I'd do it again. Now, I also didn't like the anime version because it was just all very tender, and I didn't necessarily have a problem. Well, I kind of did. Even in the anime version, Armin, and I watched the anime first, so my reaction to the anime was my first reaction, and I was like, oh, I don't like that. The whole scene was just very tender. It was very sympathetic in feel with the music and the softness of the scene, so I still just felt tonally it was wrong. I understood the vision for the scene, which is similar to the vision for the Mikasa scene, which is that makes that difficult feeling of, this is someone that I believed in. This is someone that I thought was going to save humanity. This was someone that I put my faith in. This is my family. This is the person that I've grown up with, and I've spent my entire life with. And now I'm realizing that you could not be what I thought you were. which is why we're here in this position now. And that feeling of still having a tie to someone, but realizing you have to break it off, right? Like that complicated feeling I thought was depicted well with the Mikasa scene. But with the Armin scene, I didn't think it was depicted well. It came off, both in the manga and in the anime, though admittedly the anime was a lot better. In both scenes, it came off too tender and sympathetic, to the point that I think the wrong messaging kind of pulls through. And not what I think Isayama was trying to say here, but kind of like what was said in the manga. I'm treating this all very lightly, so I mean, like, take everything. Don't be like crazy serious about this, because I love this series, but I think that scene is comically bad. Anyway, so then they both pop out of their memories, and Ymir has been able to move on. Eren is officially done and over with. They're going to, ironically, bury him under, or rather circularly, bury him under the tree that is the tree that began it all. And our besties are back, our characters that we thought we lost, that I threw an absolute tantrum over when they turned Titan. They're back. It's fine. Which totally makes sense, by the way, because they hadn't been destroyed. Like, no one had cut their neck. They were still alive. So when Ymir's Titan crafting was disengaged, then they once again became human. I did love this line, even though I didn't love Ymir's big reveal being that she was in love the whole time. I loved this line when Mikasa says, so it was you. You were always looking inside my head. I'm sure your love was a long, long nightmare, and I can't return the life that was stolen from you. I love that line. Whew, that was good. So then we get the epilogue of sorts. We get to see what comes next. And what comes next is, I mean, it's more war. It's more of the same. Humanity's cycle continues. They ended this particular moment in time, but humanity didn't stop being humanity. The fight will not end until either Eldia or the world disappears. That is what Eren said, and perhaps he was right after all. Even down to, oh yeah, and then them saying that they're not going to let history be forgotten. They're not going to hide history, pretend it wasn't real. They're going to tell the story. And Mikasa, too, continues to visit the tree, does get married, does have a kid, but never really lets Eren go, which I don't really have an opinion on that one. But in the final scenes, we see that war continued on. It didn't stop. Through the ages, through the years, humanity did not find world peace just because this cycle ended. Or did it? And then we lead a kid to the tree, and it might go on. And I don't know, if this is, the cycle truly will continue and it'll all just repeat itself, or if it's more along the lines of, it might look different this time. I love a good open ending, so I'm really good with this. And I have always expected the ending to not end in world peace, happy-go-lucky, yay, we're all singing Kumbaya around the campfire, because a huge part of the series has been the cycle of humanity, and that war and strife and evil in the world isn't this group of people versus this group of people. It's humans versus humans. There's good and there's evil within all the world. And so because of that messaging, because of just a close look at the failings of humanity, it had to end this way. So this was the most honest ending that we could get in regards to showing that the cycle continues. So overall, it was funny. I finished that second special, and even though I had my complaints, there were scenes that I didn't like. I didn't like the Armin scene. The Ymir thing is just kind of like, that's kind of a disappointment. But the Armin scene I didn't like, in either the manga or the anime. Though the anime was a lot better. And a couple of other very small things that are barely even worth mentioning to me. But for the most part, I was really happy with this ending. And it's so funny because I have put off reading Attack on Titan for so long. Probably 2 years since Roger's Base first recommended the series to me. Or more. It might have been 3 years. And I picked it up. I bought all these volumes 2 or 3 years ago. And then because of the controversy around it and people warning me like, oh, this is going to be divisive, this series, like all these things, I chicken out. And I've just been delaying for all this time. And I finished the second special and I was just like, oh, no, I love this series. I have my qualms about it, but I think that this series was unbelievably written and none of my complaints ruined the series for me. Even the one complaint that I'm like, yeah, I just didn't like that. It's like, okay, so we knock off half of a star instead of it being a 10 star. Instead of the series being a 10, it's a 9.5. Like, it's a great series. I had a wonderful time reading this. I mean, like an extraordinary time reading it. As I said, I don't understand the time issue of this series. And let me try to process that with you really quick. So this is what I think I understand, and I might not understand anything, but it was mentioned in the series that the Attack Titan was meant to be kind of like a balance for the Founding Titan, like the selfish, power-hungry element of the Founding Titan. And the Attack Titan was meant to essentially like hold the Founding back and keep the Founding from like going crazy. And when Eren gained control of both, he then essentially just like lost the ability to correctly have that balance. And then he saw time all at once. There is no past, there is no future. It's just all happening at once, and it like drove him mad, essentially. Which, you know, Eren has always had this bloodlust in him since he was a little kid, but it's almost like he lost the ability to really be able to have that agency that he needed. And I'm still trying to understand perfectly I'm still trying to understand how much freedom Eren truly had, because he does talk about how, you know, like, I tried to change the pattern of things. I saw what was before me and I tried to resist it and I couldn't. And so, like, I don't know if it was kind of like he couldn't because of having the Founding and the Titan and the Attack together. So he couldn't because all of time was all just squished together in his brain and he couldn't work his way through it, or if it's actually just he couldn't, you know, like his steps were determined. And for everybody else, they had freedom and he made sure that they kept their freedom. He made sure that he didn't take that from them, but like, it was always going to be the way it was going to be. I don't think that's true, because there was a future or a realm, a place, a time, something, a pocket somewhere where Mikasa asked Eren to go away with him, and he did, with her, and he did. And because he was able to say, I could see that you guys were going to stop me, so I did it in a way that you guys would be framed as heroes. So I do think that he did have some agency. The way I'm interpreting it, having the Founding and the Attack together made him not be able, like, he was bound by things because he had too much knowledge and the balance was lost. I could be really wrong about that, so do feel free to correct me, because at this point in time, I don't fully understand that side of the story. But I am going to reread a few scenes, so maybe I'll figure it out. Anyway, I have loved the series. There will be one more video where I go back and talk about, you know, not exhaustively. It's going to be one video, probably be like 40 minutes, who knows. But it'll be one video where I just talk about the series as a whole, talk about the themes, the characters, execution, what worked, what didn't work, why, and just like try to have more of a comprehensive full series discussion. But this is the final vlog. So thank you for joining me for these very long rambles. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I can now read comments. I will see you again soon for the final video and for a live stream with Roger Space, who told me to start this series. He agreed to do a stream with me. So we're gonna sit down and we're gonna hash it out. We're gonna talk more. And I'm very, very, very excited about that as well. So thank you for joining me. I'll see you again soon. Bye.